So thank you, Arthur, very much for the introduction. It's hello to everyone who is watching online, and also to everyone who is here. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. And actually, it's my second time in Riga. And if you would ask me, do I remember my first time in Riga, I would tell you, yes, I do remember my first time in Riga, because when I was flying here for the first time, I wasn't able to land because it was too much fog in Riga, so I had to use the hospitality of your neighbors and landed somewhere else and then come back here. So I really remember the first time in Riga. But actually, today I'm here to speak about, well, what every CIO should know about the EMM. And does anyone here knows what EMM stands for? Wow, great, at least one person, Enterprise Mobility Management. And one of my goals here is to just to make that clear for you what it is and what we should know about it. And my name is Leszek Twardowski, anyways, and I'm working as a senior system engineer for Mobileiron. And actually just, okay, how is it working? Should it work? Okay, I don't know. Okay. I wanted to start with a question. Is there anyone here who does not have smartphone or any mobile device? Okay, good. This one, okay, perfect. So everybody has at least one device, right? Cool. Okay, so is there anyone here then, the second question would be, do you use your devices, smartphone, mobile device, whatever you have, for anything related to your job? Emails? Can you please raise your hand? Oh, okay. To be honest, I was a little bit of expecting this, and the reason why I actually come to this is that should be this way. I'm sorry. We are living today in the so-called mobile era. The more and more mobile devices are available, we are using them, and well, looking at this slide, we could see that we had different milestones, different eras. Right now, we have a so-called mobile era, so we are using those devices. And additional fact is, and this is really the fact, the mobile is here to stay in the enterprise. And you just confirmed that to me, right? Saying that you are using the smartphone mobile device for work-related things. And this is just some number which may be already not that much accurate, but the idea is here. So many mobile devices are available, and the more and more of them are coming into the enterprise via the users, right? And also, the second thing, really important, we have tons of applications, both in the Apple stores, Google Play stores. And what is interesting is that the users are starting to use the application also for work, not only for the private usage. And we have a challenge to get, okay, I have the private application, how to cook great eggs in the morning, which is completely my own private thing, which maybe no one else would like to use, but I might also have some job-related application which are important for me. And then we also are coming into the, and this is happening also more and more, that we see users using the mobile devices, accessing the mobile content, company content documents, uploading them to the Dropboxes, boxes, or the other boxes, as I say, right? So this is really the fact. And I just wanted to mention this, and also what I want to mention is actually what are the requirements from the users right now, and historically how we get into the EMM and what does it mean, EMM. So it all has started with devices, right? So we have some devices. You could see 3 main operating systems available right now. So iOS, Android, and Windows Phone. As you might know, it has really evolved. It was the Symbian, all those other stuff before. And all it was about is, okay, I would like to manage those devices, so have them in one console. I would like to maybe automatically configure some profiles to those devices. And in case I need that, it also something Timo mentioned, okay, maybe I would like to wipe those devices in case something happened to the device. So it was all about mobile device management. That's, and to be honest, in this region here, the Eastern Europe, Central Europe, when actually I'm working with, that's still the main requirements for the users. If into the enterprise, they are more and more coming asking, okay, we need that kind of the solution which will help us to manage the devices in the enterprise, but that's the basic requirement. But this is not enough anymore, and we see more and more customers coming into the other direction. And setting up the stage for EMM. The second orange area here you could see, that's the applications. I mentioned already private application, business applications on the same devices, on the same device for the user. And actually this brings us to this very popular so-called containerization. When we want to separate business data and the private data on the same device, and how do we do this? Okay, via so-called containerization. This might be different approaches here, and different containerization and different EMM vendors are doing this maybe a little bit different. But generally, this is about separating applications from the private ones and the business ones, and actually also securely distributing the application. And following that, the green area here, also very tightly connected to that, is the content. So we are talking about mobile application, MAM, management, and also MCM, mobile content management. When we have our users having access via business application to some documents, like via SharePoint, CISO, whatever resources you might want to give them, I download the content to my device. I want to have that content secure on the device, but I also want to make sure that, for example, I cannot copy-paste that content outside of my container, right? So all this about and is also together with the secure access, right? So I want to make sure that access to my company resources is only for the secure devices, for the users I trust. I give access based, conditional access based on the where does he belong in AD, for example, who he is. And this all together, what you see on this slide, this is enterprise mobility management. So, because many times it's so confusing, so if we are talking about MDM, that's just the blue one. But if we are talking about enterprise mobility management, that's the three of those blocks, right? Okay, so I hope this is clear. And that going further to the topic of the presentation, what we should know about enterprise mobility management. The team already mentioned, but also we are talking here that the mobility has actually introduced new operating system architecture and application model. We already mentioned sandboxing here. Application sandboxing, also the OS kernel security. It's not open files anymore. It's now not open OS kernel. But because it is a little bit of still fresh, it's coming into the enterprise, there are still lots of confusion also on the CIO, CISO's level about this mobile architecture. And so let's have a look shortly how this has changed actually. Yes, we remember our traditional model, right? So the open file system, open OS kernel, vulnerable for modification from the other applications. This was already out for some time. And then we had year 2007. And why this year is important? For me, first, because my first son was born. But just second is because 2007 was the year when Apple has introduced the iOS and iPhone, I'm sorry. And that all has begun, all this mobility thing actually has begun then. And what was actually good for Apple, that they were able to write this from the scratch. Looking at what was already there. So what has changed? Then the main differences is the change from the open file system to the application sandboxing. So every application is using isolated memory, isolated storage, right? Then we also have a change from unprotected to the protected OS kernel and untrusted to trusted management primitives. What I mean by this is we have these management APIs, which are the ways how to actually deal with the things on OS kernel, like the application installation, the installation, connectivity, configuration, etc. But these APIs are only available for the trusted EMM providers. So not everything, every file, everything can get into that, right? So that's the the change of this operating system architecture. And also, as you might know already, Windows 10 is going this direction. So a colleague mentioned here already Android, iOS, and Windows 10. Actually, this is the way, this is this shift from the architecture point of view. Then also we have this security thing. So the traditional security, old time, we all know all this, right? I think you all have been through that. And so to protect this, we had to upload those many of different agents, antivirus, encryption, etc., etc. And it was not that easy. It was expensive. And okay, I think you know better than me. With the EMM, and I think that's the first takeaway. What we should know about EMM. EMM as central security hub. So this has changed. So EMM, Enterprise Mobility Management, is the central security hub here, which from one side can be a single point of trust for the device, and also at the other side can authenticate the user device and the access, grant access to the proper resources. So we don't need all those many agents on the device anymore. We deal with the business application, if you wish. So those who are important for us, which are staying in the additionally encrypted area on the device, this popular container, right? So we have additional security layer, additional authentication, additional encryption, and we can manage that. So Enterprise Mobility Management is the gatekeeper for the enterprise data. That's also the change of from the security perspective. And with that, we are actually coming into the modern computing. This is really the changing. And with the modern computing, we have devices are personal. This is happening more and more. Networks are open, data is stored in the cloud, it happens, and IT does not own assets anymore. It's not 100% that we are owning the devices like we had our domain joint machines via GPOs, managed, etc., etc. So what do we need with that is we would need to establish so-called managed trust. And what is this? The managed trust. Please remember this triangle. It's nice, right? Only trusted users on trusted devices with trusted applications over trusted sessions can access enterprise data. So that is managed trust. What do we mean by this? So this is really managed because, well, this is dynamic. The trust is identity, so that could be user, myself, but also together with the posture of my device. So I can have access to whatever resource, but in the minute when my posture, so my device goes out of compliance, for example, I have installed not allowed application, my posture is bad, my trust is broken, I don't have access anymore. And EMM is the way to allow you to establish this managed trust. And this then happens automatically, right? So managed trust, remember those three areas we have. And also here, I would like to touch briefly on the mind of the mobile hacker. Okay, we have already talked about how it is changing from the perspective what we had, what we are going into, but the mobile hackers also are not sleeping. They know that the mobile is different. They know that the new generation operating system are sandboxes, the network edges has blurred, and also they know that the user are low-hanging fruits, right? So if there are new threats coming in, and Timo mentioned already a couple of them, I want to also indicate them here again. So there are a couple of ways our hackers are trying to get into the mobile devices, and one of the most still often is they are looking into device. They would like to jailbroken it. And very shortly, okay, if because of this sandboxing application, if I am able to jailbroke iPhone, then pretty much I'm getting into the same level of security like on the traditional Windows. So I go away of this application sandboxing so I can actually try to do some more stuff. Countermeasure, we have to detect those jailbroken devices and mitigate of them. So that's from the perspective of the devices. Then hackers also looking into the application. There's no more file infection because the file, there's no open file system anymore in mobile devices. So they are trying to get into with the bad application or the, well, good application but behaving so-called risky applications. And the, well, good example here could be this Xcode host. I will mention that also a little bit later. So applications are the ways how something bad can get into our devices. And to countermeasure that, reputation analysis and mitigation, there are dedicated new partners, vendors like FireEye, Authority, taking care about this, right? And we are also, as a EMM provider, vendor, working closely with them to try to address those risks as well. And then we have this third triangle. So they are also looking into the network, trying to, because this is very typical, right? I'm sitting with my mobile device in the coffee shop. I'm using the public network and trying to get into my corporate network. And if they try to get the man-in-the-middle attack, it's maybe for someone would be really easy. So what we can do here is to try to establish the session trust using the certificates. And with the EMM, like Mobileiron I'm talking with, we can establish this pair-up VPN using the certificate authentication, that only for the particular application on device, I'm establishing dedicated tunnel to the specific resource on the corporate side. But here, just to mention also on the networking side, this is important and this could be attacked. So managed trust network, I need that, I need EMM for that. And what do? Device trust I can establish by the jailbreak root detection, encryption enforcement, passcode. So these things which I can set in the policies in the EMM provider, and we can try to get this on the device. Then also establishing application trust, secure distribution of application, containerized data store. So even if someone would get my password to the device, then I can have additional layer of security to authorize to the container application in the container. But also, if I don't have that, the data is encrypted and below. So it's definitely much harder to get into the data. And I could also automatically wipe the device in case of it's lost or stolen, right? So reputation analysis together with the partners we are working, like FireEye, Authority, where they are actually really taking care of and checking the different application. And local DLP controls as well. So copy-paste, opening stuff which is implemented, for example, in the operating system like iOS. And then we have this third thing, session trust. So we are using secure gateway. We have the dedicated secure gateway, and which is using certificate-based authentication, establishing per-app VPN tunnel for one particular application to particular resource. So having that tunnel, it is only for one app to one resource. So even if I have another application, maybe bad application on that device, it does not have access to that tunnel. It does not have access to my company resource. So that's the way that this security definitely goes better. And of course, the conditional access. I belong to IT group in the AD. I might have something access to something different. I belong to the sales, also something different. But if something happens with my device, I lose access at all until my device is going back to the compliance. So this here is actually having this managed trust. We are able to protect the choice. And this is the value the EMM providers can give you and the way we are going. Dear user, you have a choice. You can choose the device what you want. And we can give you maybe different access to different things, which previously maybe was not available. Very shortly, things which Tim already mentioned, you might know. That's actually the 2015, the summer of the mobile breaches. And you know, this is also a kind of the confirmation the mobile is in the enterprise, and the more and more focus of the hackers are on the mobile devices, mobile applications. And what I want to mention here is, for example, that the Xcode Ghost, this is actually really interesting because this exploit was only in the Xcode Ghost SDK from Apple, used for developing iOS application. If some developers has downloaded it from the not official Apple place, which they can do, that was infected, and they were not aware of it. So they were actually unintentionally hiding malware building their application. And then when they uploaded to the App Store, it went through because, well, Xcode Ghost, and that happens. So it was some of the applications were affected, and we have a report from our partner, FireEye. They have identified over 4,000 applications in the Apple Store which were affected by this. And of course, Apple together with FireEye were removing those applications. But for us, or for you as a customer, having EMM, we were able to, because there was a list of those affected applications, we could identify them via EMM in your environment on your mobile devices, and you could quarantine devices, you could remove the application, as just an example. Another example, for example, KeyRider malware, we're searching just for the jailbroken iOS devices, but has stolen over 200,000 iTunes accounts with all the information. So checking for the jailbroken devices, and we have really sophisticated things. How do we actually check if the device is jailbroken or not? Checking this one, quarantine device, and you actually are mitigating these risks. And the last but not least here, this one, the eSpectre, the example here is that, for example, this affects all iOS devices with the OS lower than 8.4. Yeah, so if you could set also the policy that's saying all devices with the OS system lower than 8.4 should be quarantined or do not have access to the data. Yeah.
If there's a known vulnerability in Android and the update is not to come until like a year later,
yep.
It will be quarantined for a year.
Well, the problem here, this is really actually actual problem which we are facing right now with the stage fright, that the operators, the ISPs are really providing the updates really slowly. And then with that, if we don't have update, there is a list of devices which already received the update, so we can try to make sure, make sure that these devices are updated. But with that together, what we do is we are recommending the users, actually educating the users together, because this stuff is, you might know, is via this media library sync, so that you could get the MMS text, and if you are using Hangouts or Messenger, usually by default they are set automatically download the stuff from the internet. So the mitigation here would be, recommend your user to disable this auto download from the if you are using Hangouts or the other applications. But if until, of course, we do not have the update from the vendor, the problem is there, and in theory it could affect almost every Android device which is higher than 2.2, right? But maybe it will not if the users, and this is also kind of the thing, we cannot sometimes 100%, because we as a EMM also depend on the operating system, and this is something we cannot do. Okay, so one more thing, EMM has become also the security hub for data protection and incident response. And last but not least, in terms of EMM, what we should know, or you should know as CIOs or the others guys. This is the quote from Gartner. By 2020, smartphone security and management architecture, so EMM will dominate the endpoint computing. And the great example is the Windows 10. The Windows 10 as a catalyst to rethink of it. And why is that? Because with Windows 10, the different operating systems available for Windows PCs, for tablets, for phones are converging into one unified platform being managed via EMM provider. And this is actually where we are going. And so therefore, there is really important, and more customers are starting to ask, guys, what we can do, what you can do already with to help us to manage the PCs. So this topic is really hot, and this is also important to know. We are going away from the traditional managing via GPOs, domain joined, etc. Also with Windows devices. Okay, short recap. What to know about EMM? First, EMM has become the security hub for data protection and incident response. We are putting EMM between devices and the company resources, making sure that, okay, we enable, we monitor, but also we then give or grant access. EMM allows to establish managed trust. Remember that triangle I told you? Only trusted user, untrusted devices with trusted applications over trusted sessions can get into the enterprise data. Without EMM, data will always be at increased risk of breach. Remember exploit we have just described. Many of the mobile devices right now in the enterprise is just being managed via ActiveSync to get email. And ActiveSync has really basic things like, okay, you can wipe device with ActiveSync, but this is not EMM, so this will not protect you from the things we have just talked about, right? And the last, again, not least, is EMM will become leading management platform for modern end user computing. This is where we're actually heading. And okay, it definitely will come in to our region a little bit later, but this is definitely coming. Do I have 3 minutes?
Sure.
Okay, great. Okay, so with that, I just want to wrap up my session here with just thinking of the requirements for information security and business enablement for both actually cloud and traditional data centers, right? So what do we need to put this information security in place? So being a CIO, it's important for me, right? So first thing is enablement. Of course, I have to provision and configure the connection of my devices to the business services, right? And with the mobile devices, we are doing this via applications. So depending on who you are, you can have dedicated application. And we have a customer, for example, who has 300 dedicated in-house application doing some specific things only related to their business. There are lots of customers who doesn't have any yet, but it will maybe come. Second thing, the security. So what do we need here is the protection of data at rest on the endpoint. We mentioned that, okay? I download the company file on the device, and even if I'm offline, it's staying in that the secure area, additionally encrypted, additionally secured. Protection of data in motion. So I mentioned that we are using the secure access, establishing dedicated per app VPN for specific application to specific resource. And we have customers require that they have dedicated application, which is on the devices. The people are running all around with those devices, connecting via different, for example, hotspot. But when they are opening this application, no matter where they are, it goes through our secure sentry. Said device has to authenticate via certificate. User has to be okay, so the posture has to be okay. And if everything is okay, and this happens automatically on the real time, the check-in, the sentry will establish the connection for that particular application to the specific resource. And in that customer case, that is the web service on their side when the application is talking to. And the data at rest on the device are encrypted. And of course, authentication, conditional access to the backend business service. This is really important. This really depends. It is dynamic, belongs to maybe the group where you are sitting. It can really change. One day you have access to everything because your device was okay. You came home, your kid installed Angry Birds, which is against our company policy. Next day you come to the job, you cannot access your email or whatever. What is the reason? Angry Birds on your device. You uninstalled Angry Birds as an application, your device is back in compliance, you have access. That's how it works, and it works automatically, right? And then actually still having that all in place, we need to be sure that we are monitoring the device and being sure that everything is okay. And for that, you need EMM, Enterprise Mobility System. And as I represent Mobilelron, I can tell, okay, Mobilelron is the security and application hub for also modern end user computing, which can actually help you to address these things. So enterprise mobility management to secure enterprise information wherever it lives, across application, across networks, across clouds. And here, just one more information. We already have a solution that, for example, allows us if I am the user, I have downloaded the SharePoint file, company file, to my device via the allowed application, and I wanted to upload it to the personal Dropbox. My admin can allow for that, but if I do this, the file will be encrypted. So then if you go to the native Dropbox application on the device, you will not be able to open that file because it's encrypted. Just an example that we are already touching the problem with the cloud. Okay, and just for those who, this is the same I've already shown, but if you are interested in how our in very high level architecture look like, it's like this. It's really, really simple, but just to that's my last slide here. So we have a device here with the red carpet or orange carpet, which is our, let's say, containerization. We take care about the data here. We can wipe it, delete it. On the left side, we have a user and whatever we want to provide this user, right? So depending what we want, our core and Sentry and enterprise resources. As I said, because I think we have run out of time, I am here all day. Come to me, I'm happy to try to answer more questions, maybe show you also something on the device. And thank you really much. I think that...
Yeah, we are kind of making the crowd angry because the lunch is already kind of served. Anyway, very fastly, is there some questions?
Yeah, we have there's strictly with that, you have to have the mobile, the EMM client on the device, which actually enforces policy, which monitors device and give back. Well, it is actually the admin. The application, the client itself is also has the administrative right for the device. When you're installing it, it has to have.
Any more? Yeah, sure.
Is it fair to say that basically this extends your perimeter to mobile device? So the perimeter defenses are back now that you could provide a defense of your mobile devices. But we are moving back to perimeter defense idea.
And your question is it, well, we actually with EMM, we actually extend all this to all the mobile devices which are coming, because that's the fact. The people they want to use it. It's not anymore like, okay, I only have my PC and I only have access to that. So, and to extend that access to the perimeter, but from the mobile devices, right? You need such solution like EMM to be able to do this. Because even if you stay with the perimeter like the data center, even if we don't talk about cloud, like, okay, I don't have cloud, no Office 365, nothing else, which is here really the true, because in Europe we have like 99.9 all installation, it's all about on-premise. We want to have it at our premises, we know it, we secure it. But, well, cloud is coming anyways, and Office 365, kind of one of the example. But so I would say you can still have your enterprise data in your perimeter, but to extend the security for the mobile devices, still giving them access to this, you need EMM, because they are not domain joined. You are not able to manage them via GPOs and all this security which applies to the PCs. I don't know if I hope this answers also the question.
So I will maybe add one question. So today, also in Timo's presentation was mentioned from the crowd that what about antivirus? So what about mobile antivirus? Because the malware is growing all the time. We see that with charts that I don't know 40-100% growth of Android malware and so on. As far as I know, and as far as my experience is that the antivirus is not maybe the best solutions to secure the device from the malwares and from that point, because it's not well developed yet for the mobile, or I'm wrong?
I can answer, my answer would be, I would say more from the experience, what we have seen at the customer as well. So some time ago, when we were talking about Android, and in our region, most of installation are Android devices, there was always a question, okay, do you have antivirus on for Android devices? And well, the answer is there are lots of them. Lookout and all those security guys, they have the app available for the mobile devices. But the truth is, what Timo also, mentioned here is, they are really using lots of performances of the devices. They do not really do the job you would wish them to do. And the answer for that is from the moment we have the containerization approach, so we are establishing this container stuff, additionally encrypting data within the container, separating business application from the private, the less and less we hear about, okay, the antivirus itself. Even though we had a customer who were testing antivirus different application for, I don't know, 3 months. I think they have chosen, I think F5 or not now the F5, but the F-Secure, excuse me. But after some time, they just said, okay, it doesn't work anymore. So the more thing is use the containerization together with maybe the integration with the reputation partners like FireEye, Authority, and to be honest, the antivirus application a question that was always about Android devices. There was never ever questions about antivirus for iOS or for Windows.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.